Entrepreneurs in the legal field right now on the Leadership Voice. Welcome to the Leadership Voice. I'm your host, Jay Barbuto. Today's show is about entrepreneurship in the legal industry. Joining us are Sabrina Lee, founder of the law offices of Sabrina Lee, and Elizabeth Yang, founder of Yang Law. We also have a great leadership lesson being delivered by Professor Richard Parry. We have a lot of great things coming, but let's get things started with our quote of the day. Today's quote comes from American theoretical physicist Dr. Lisa Randall. I considered going into business or becoming a lawyer not for the money, but for the thrill of problem solving. Our first guest today is Sabrina Lee. Sabrina Lee is the founder and managing attorney at the law offices of Sabrina Lee. As a State Bar of California certified immigration specialist, she is unmatched in expertise in handling complex immigration cases. Sabrina is also a dedicated mentor to the next generation of legal professionals and is frequently entrusted by her peers with the most challenging of cases. Please welcome to the show, Sabrina Lee.
Thank you, Jay, for the amazing introduction.
It's great to have you on the show to share your wisdom around starting a law firm. Let's start by talking a little bit about your journey and how you went from law school to eventually opening your own shop.
Yeah, so I came to United States as an international student. When I came here, I was planning I'm going back to China to work in an international law firm. I never dreamed about opening my own practice here, but after I graduated, I started by working for immigration law firms. I worked for different law firms in different cities in the LA area. And through working with the firms, I've learned the practice. I've learned communication, case management, and I have a lot of my own ideas. I told my boss, I think we could do this better. There are different ways to do it, and I think there's better approach to cases. But they don't always agree with what I said. So I thought to myself, you know what, like if I become my own boss, I can decide how I want to do things. And I know I can do it better. I know I can provide better services. I know I can do better processes, and I can pick the cases I really want to do and fulfill the purposes I have when I become a lawyer. So that's why I started my practice. And I started with nothing. I was my own secretary, my own accountant, and I built everything up until now.
So you were answering the phone?
I was answering the phone.
You would answer the phone?
Yes, I was also doing the payroll. I was doing the bookkeeping in the very beginning.
So in the beginning, you would have been very happy to work your way up in that firm and be a part of that. But every time you gave your input, gave your ideas, it felt like they weren't open to your ideas.
Right. I guess when I was a young attorney and as you know, someone practiced for a couple of years, my boss thought, what do you know, right? I've been doing this for 15 years or 20 years. I know better than you. So they often said, okay, that's a good idea, but they would never take my feedback.
Yeah, sometimes the innovation doesn't always come from the most experienced, but sometimes the innovations come from people who are newer to the environment.
That's
and
totally
so you decided to open your own shop.
Mm-hmm.
So you, how did you get things going? How did you get your client base moving?
Right. In the beginning, it was pretty difficult. So I did what my boss told me initially. Being an attorney, the best referral is your own clients. And being as a Chinese immigrant, naturally I reached out to the people in the community and I told them what I know, what I can do. So I started from a couple of clients and it starts to grow. In the beginning, I felt, okay, I should do the same thing. I'm going to do good work. I am going to build my client base based on my good work. Until one day I thought to myself, I started my business because I didn't agree to everything my boss told me. Why am I doing the same thing I was taught at the firms? So I decided, you know what, I'm going to try marketing. I am going to try social media. And social media was just becoming hot at that time. So I thought, I'm going to put stories out there. I'm not trying to do just advertising my phone numbers. I'm trying to share my clients' stories, successful stories, share about what happened to people's cases, what we can do. And by doing that, I started to attract clients from everywhere. So I started from having mostly Chinese immigrants as my clients. Now we basically getting clients from every state and from different countries as well.
Do you ever have to turn down clients, or how do you choose which clients you want to work with and which clients maybe aren't a good fit?
Right, in the beginning, I was trying to take every case because I have bills to pay. I have to pay my staff, I have to pay all the costs. But through doing that, I realized it was a bad idea to take every case that comes in my way. And also, it was hard to be picky in the beginning. I would say you are going to have some bad clients. You're going to have some bad cases. Through the growth, we learned we actually love every case. We don't care if the case is difficult, how complex it is, but there are difficult clients we don't want to have. When we're talking about difficult clients, as lawyers, there are ethics rules, right? There are clients want you to do things that it's not possible under the law. The strategy wouldn't work, but they insist you should do their way. And there were clients who want you to do things that's just not ethical. So we have to say no to those clients, and we have to find our targeted clients. This is the other thing about the business. We have to actively looking for the clientele that is going to grow our business, not just grow the revenue. And that's why later I found out the particular client group I want to target.
So when should a person hire an immigration attorney, and when should they maybe try to do it themselves? How do you make that choice?
That's a great question. I might be biased. So for myself, even for my own immigration case, I hired an attorney. I didn't do it myself. I didn't ask my boss to do it. I hired a professional. I'm a person really big for using the professionals for professional work. I wouldn't try to do my tax return. I wouldn't try to diagnose myself, right? So I really think anyone has an immigration case, no matter big or small, you don't have to hire the attorney for the entire case, but you should definitely consult with our attorney if you are doing the right application, if you are having the correct strategy. I think everyone can build an IKEA furniture, but immigration status for someone who's trying to live here long-term or even just work here, it's very important. It doesn't really make a difference when everything goes well, but when things goes wrong, that can destroy someone's future.
So what are the risks in opening your own law firm? Like, what are the things that could go wrong?
So many things can go wrong. I think one common mistake is people thinking, what things goes wrong? Things are going to go wrong. Not everything, but that's not avoidable. So I think the biggest challenge for me is the uncertainty. When you work for someone, you are getting a paycheck. In the end of the month, in the middle of the month, you will be paid. But when you are running a business, you are definitely going to have bills to pay, but you don't know how much you'll be making this month or next month. And you don't know what's going to happen. Our president might have a new policy on Friday, and it's going to be effective on Monday. So there are a lot of uncertainty you are dealing with, but that's just part of the practice.
And in your specific specialty, you must have to stay on top of the latest changes because the laws do seem to change frequently.
Right. Particularly this year, it's changing a lot. But for immigration itself, it's not just a law. The law, maybe they don't change as much. The Immigration Act has been around for a long time. But since it's immigration, it could be related policy, it could be executive orders, and you always have to stay on top of it. Our clients are smart, especially with social media, with AI. clients come to me with news that happened this morning at 7 a.m., at 9, what do you think? What's going to happen to my case? So we got to stay on top of everything.
So what do you see as, you're running a really successful immigration attorney practice. So what do you see as the key to success for running your firm, making it a good, successful firm?
Right. So since we're talking about law firms, it's very important for law practice. If you want to run a successful business, you first and foremost need to be a good lawyer. You don't need to be the best lawyer, but you need to be a good lawyer to be able to know how to run your practice, how the case strategy should be, how to identify a good associate attorney, like training and mentoring your law clerks, paralegals, and the entire team. But besides that, I think the other important thing is to be fearless of failures, because we are all going to fail at some point. And those are not really failures. I would say those are feedbacks. Through running my own practice, I've tried many different things. Currently, I have 3 offices, one in Pasadena, one in Santa Ana, and the other one is in Dallas. But I tried more locations than that. I actually tried to open an office in San Diego, and that one didn't really last. 6 months later, I closed out that office and came back to Pasadena, and then a year later, I opened Santa Ana, which turned out to be a success.
So there are some decisions you have to make along the way,
right,
of how fast to grow, when to grow, where to grow, and sometimes you have to catch, I'm going to call them mistakes, but sometimes you have to correct some of the decisions. So you have to be willing to adapt to what's happening.
Correct.
So the last thing I want to talk about is as you start a law firm, like you said, in the very beginning, you were doing everything. But as you've grown the law firm, that's impossible for you to do everything. So how important is delegation for an attorney that wants to build their own law practice?
Yeah, delegation is critical to what we do. I think for a lot of attorneys, attorneys tend to be a control freak, right? I want my package exactly this way. I want this font, this size. But really, when it comes down to running a practice, that's not what you can do. My rule is, as long as someone can do it as 80% as good as I do, I would let the other person do it. That's how business grow. Even I now also delegate delegation. I realize, okay, the team is becoming too big for me to manage. So I hire professional managers to help me to manage a team as well. There's no growth without delegation. So yeah.
And so a lot of what you end up doing is deciding what to delegate. And one of your rules then is whether it requires you.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I want to thank you, Sabrina, for joining us on today's show. And you're going to stick around because we're going to have a panel discussion with you and Elizabeth Yang in just a moment.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
It's now time for a featured segment of the Leadership Voice. It's today's Did You Know? Although over 80% of new law firms survive their first year, close to 50% will not survive 5 years. Only 10% of law firms will ever reach $1 million in annual revenues. Running a profitable law firm is a high-risk venture. It's now time for today's Leadership Countdown. Today we bring you the keys to running a successful law firm. Number 1, strategic business planning. You must define goals and vision, develop a budget, and analyze performance. Number 2, client-centered service. You need to prioritize communication, set expectations, and solicit feedback. Number 3, effective marketing and branding. You must build a strong online presence, leverage content marketing, and cultivate referrals. Number 4, efficient firm management. You must implement standard procedures, use legal technology, and delegate effectively. And the number 5 key to running a successful law firm, is to create and maintain a positive work environment. You need to invest in your team, promote work-life balance, and encourage collaboration. Don't go anywhere. We have Elizabeth Yang in the studio right after this. The Bringing Learning to Work program is our way of connecting the faculty of Cal State Fullerton with the business community of Orange County and Southern California. We have over 72 training programs that are available via distance or face-to-face. And the faculty come to your company and they deliver the training to your employees.
The Bringing Learning to Work program is really fundamentally, it's leadership programming. We do diversity and emotional intelligence training. We partner with Cal State Fullerton because they had subject matter experts in these fields. And we're really fortunate and privileged to be able to do that.
Many companies can't afford training and development personnel. And so this is a great opportunity to leverage Cal State's faculty to help them develop their learning programs.
The leadership of the center and the students allow me to not only bring leadership development to my company, but allow me to interact with some amazing students who have grit, potential, and just amazing futures in front of them, and I get to take part of that. It's a wonderful feeling.
When your organization is ready to develop its talent, reach out to the Center for Leadership and we'll help get you there. Welcome back to the Leadership Voice. Our next guest is Elizabeth Yang. Elizabeth Yang is a multifaceted attorney, entrepreneur, author, and elected official with over 2 decades of experience across law, engineering, and community leadership. Before founding Yang Law Offices, she spent her early career as an electrical engineer. Elizabeth has been recognized as one of the top 100 civil lawyers by the National Trial Lawyers Association and currently holds an appointment as mayor of Monterey Park. Please welcome a very community-minded and wonderful person, Elizabeth Yang.
Thank you so much for having me today, Jay.
Thanks for joining us on today's show and helping young legal entrepreneurs in their journey to possibly start their firms and share your wisdom.
It's my total pleasure.
So why don't we start, if you could maybe tell us about your personal journey from that led you through your different career paths and eventually to becoming an attorney.
Yeah, I actually started off my career as an engineer, electrical engineering and computer science. I had the opportunity to design some radars for the B-2 bomber at Raytheon. And I wasn't planning on pursuing the legal career, but I went to law school to learn about our country's legal system, mainly as protection in case I get sued in the future, which in California is very likely. After I graduated, the opportunities opened and I jumped on it, and then I transitioned into the legal career.
Okay, so what was your first job out of law school then?
My coworker at Raytheon, when I was studying for the bar exam, he asked me if I was going to go work for a law firm, and I said, nope, I have nothing lined up because I had never done an internship or an externship anywhere. And he said, well, my neighbor is a big law firm partner in intellectual property. Would you like to meet him? And I ended up meeting him for lunch, and I didn't realize how high in demand lawyers with engineering backgrounds were. And one thing led to another. He brought me into his law firm. I met some of his partners, and they gave me an offer contingent on me passing the bar exam my first time. And this was with zero experience during law school.
And so you started off working in someone else's law firm, focusing on intellectual property. How long were you there?
I was there for a few years in big law. It was very challenging and stressful. Requirement was billing 2,000 hours a year, so not much work-life balance.
So what motivated you to start your own shop?
You know, many female attorneys in big law, they focus on their careers in order to make partner, and they end up giving up their family life. So in 2009, I gave birth to my first child, my daughter. And during that first year when she was born, I barely got to see her. I was going to work early in the morning, had to stay late, to finish all the assignments, and you have to network with your coworkers in order to do business development. When I got home, my daughter was asleep. So I realized if I continued down this path, I would be having my nanny raise my children.
And so for you, there was an opportunity to have more control of your time, to have more flexibility, more autonomy to be able to prioritize your personal life within the context of your career.
Yes, more work-life balance.
More work-life balance.
Yes.
And so you decided to start your own firm. So how did you get things going? Like, how did you start developing client base with your practice?
Well, in the beginning, it was very scary because, at the big law firm, we got paid a pretty generous salary, and I got to pay all my bills and still have a lot left over. Starting my own practice, you retain the first client and then the second client, but you never know when the next client's going to come through the door. And so I think what we did correctly in the beginning was don't pay more expenses than the income that's coming in. So I didn't have an office in the beginning. I just worked from my home because usually rent is the biggest expense. And slowly, once we made money, then we would get a small office, a bigger office. And then when we made more income, then we hired the first assistant, the first attorney. So many baby steps.
So there's decisions along the way of how quickly to grow. And it must be very measured of we're ready for this, we're ready to, it's like invest or generate profit. And as you go, there must be a lot of decisions that you have to make along that way. How did you know that it was time to really expand and that you were ready for that?
My biggest expansion came very naturally, and it was during the pandemic. So from intellectual property law, I ended up expanding into family law after I went through my own personal divorce. And during the pandemic, divorces skyrocketed. And it was completely unexpected because the quarantine, when husband and wife are locked down in small quarters, you either decide you love the extra time with one another or you realize you can't stand each other. And then the phone call to the attorney, right? So, or phones were ringing off the hook. And we went in 2020, 2021, in that 1 to 2 year time frame, we went from having 3 attorneys to having over 10 attorneys.
And so COVID was actually really good for business.
In the divorce arena. Yes.
It wasn't always good for families, but it was good for business. So when you're running your business in the beginning, what kind of marketing strategies did you use to build your client base?
I think one of the most useful strategies was performing good work. The clients are happy, they write good reviews, and we end up having an organic reputation on the internet so that when people search for us, our name immediately goes to the top. And a lot of people base hiring an attorney on word of mouth and their reputation.
Yeah, and so reviews on different platforms,
yeah.
Those really are important. And so attorneys do need to take care of their clients well to get strong reviews, especially in the beginning.
Definitely, and I think also networking with other attorneys too, because attorneys are typically the biggest source of referrals. So I don't see other attorneys as competition, I see them as business partners.
It's been said that every new business has this moment of truth, this moment where we wonder if we're going to make it. We wonder if this is going to really succeed. What was your moment of truth with Yang Law Offices, and how did you decide to go forward and stick with it?
Like 3 years ago when we grew so quickly, it became very overwhelming, and I was really stressed because with the extra cases came leadership, right? Having to manage different departments, and it became too much for myself to handle alone. And I realized the moment of truth is being vulnerable and open to receiving support. So 3 years ago, my husband, who has never worked in a law firm and who's from the HR background, he and I decided he was going to resign from his job, which was in HR, and come in to work the family business alongside me. And we've been partners, not just in life, but also in business for the last 3 years.
So delegation has become a big part of your success as well.
Definitely, yeah. Knowing that it doesn't just take one person, it takes a team.
So how do you decide which parts of the practice you have to be involved in and which things you can delegate?
You know, I think that's the beauty of being the boss. I can choose which parts I like, and I delegate the parts I don't like.
Okay, terrific. So what has been the biggest keys to the success of your law firm? Very, very successful practice. It's been growing wonderfully. What do you think the key has been?
I think the key is having the right people in the right seats. So in the beginning, I was a terrible hirer. I don't see the flaws in people, and everyone who comes in my door, I'm like, yeah, you have a job and you have a job. But I think hiring a wrong person actually makes a huge mess of things. So finding out what are the right people in the right seats is key.
And if you can surround yourself with good people that you can trust, makes all the difference.
Definitely, yes.
So how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as someone who made a positive impact in people's lives. And I think in family law, it's very different from other areas of law because not only are we making an impact in the parties' lives and the parents, but also their children. So in our law firm, we're different from other law firms in that we're not asking people to keep fighting. And in fact, I always tell people you need to treat an ex with more patience and more respect than when you guys were married, if you want your life to be easier. And so people don't realize when they're getting a divorce, when they have kids together, they're tied at the hip for life. They're going to be going to graduations together, becoming grandparents together one day. So if I can have them get along, become friends, and then their children see that their parents are no longer enemies, that's going to have a ripple effect for generations.
That's great advice. I think a lot of couples think that now that they're not going to be together, they can say all those things that they wanted to say but didn't say. And I think that's great advice for them your relationship needs to be even stronger.
Yes. Yeah, more communication.
All right. Well, Elizabeth, I want to thank you for joining us on today's show. We're going to come back here in just a few minutes, and we're going to have a panel discussion with you and Sabrina.
Great. Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. We have our leadership lesson coming up after this exciting news from the Giles O'Malley Center for Leadership. It's now time for our leadership lesson. Today's leadership lesson will be delivered by Professor Richard Parry.
I'm Professor Richard Parry, and this is today's leadership lesson. A variety of sources claim that Elon Musk once said that drug dealers know more about running a business than college professors. While I've found no credible record of him saying it, there is a grain of truth to the statement. Drug dealers, after all, understand supply, demand, and risk, but they do not concern themselves with the many laws that legitimate businesses must follow, including, but not limited to, contracts, sales, employment, discrimination, and constitutional law, aside from perhaps the Fifth Amendment with which all drug dealers should be intimately familiar. Ethics further distinguishes legitimate enterprises from illicit ones. The need for ethical leadership in business comes as no surprise. Countless books, lectures, and lawsuits have made that clear. The word ethics comes from the Greek ethikos, an adjective of ethos meaning character, custom, or habit. Aristotle used the term to describe the moral habits that shape a person's character. Among modern examples, Martha Stewart's case is particularly instructive. Contrary to popular belief, she was not convicted of insider trading. Instead, she was found guilty of a conspiracy, obstruction of justice, and making false statements to federal investigators, or, as Stewart described it, a small personal matter. Stewart's downfall began when she lied to the FBI with an attorney sitting next to her. This brings to mind the word iatrogenesis, a term meaning harm caused by a member of the medical profession. Fortunately, at least for attorneys, there's no comparable term for harm caused by the legal profession. Unsurprisingly, Stewart was represented by a different lawyer at her trial. Stewart's prosecutor was none other than James Comey, who described the case as about lying to the FBI, lying to the SEC, and lying to investors, a description that may come back to haunt Mr. Comey. To the surprise of no one, Stewart invoked her Fifth Amendment right at trial and did not testify. Some commentators took this as confidence in her defense strategy. Nothing could be further from the truth. Stewart was trapped. If she took the stand, she either would have to admit to lying or repeat the lie. In either case, the judge would be required to impose an even harsher sentence on her. Ethics isn't only a moral issue, it's a legal one. Companies must instill ethical awareness, ensure legal compliance, and educate employees at all levels. Most importantly, a business and its employees cannot comply with the law if they do not know the law. I'm Professor Richard Parry, and this has been today's leadership lesson.
We're back for our leadership panel. Sabrina and Elizabeth, thank you so much for rejoining us for today's discussion.
Glad to be back.
Yes.
All right, so our first question, we actually have 4 questions, and each of you will answer all 4 questions, but you'll take turns going first. The first question, Sabrina will answer first. So that question is this: what does it take to succeed in a law practice?
I would say the most important thing is people. As legal professionals, building a strong team is the most important thing. That's how we do good work. That's how we run great practice. And the next thing will be persistence, because running a practice is not easy. It's hard. It's scary in the beginning, and it actually doesn't really get easy in the end. Every time I'm thinking, I'm hiring another person, I'm adding one more office, and then I will relax afterwards. You never relax. And through the process, you really need to persist and getting into the end.
No, that's great. What about you, Elizabeth? Same question. What is the key to building a successful law practice?
I love the 2 Ps, people and persistence. People, not just the team members, but also clients and referral partners in the community. Persistence in that entrepreneurship is not a straight line. It's a roller coaster ride every single day. So there's tons of ups and downs, and we have to be able to persist through all the challenges.
So people need to really be prepared that the experience of having your own law firm is not linear. It does not just get better and better and better and better, but it's going to be a lot of bumps, a lot of ups, a lot of downs, a lot of opportunities to learn.
A lot of speed bumps along the way.
How adaptable do you have to be to make this work?
Very. Yeah, adaptability, flexibility, resilience are all key.
Okay, great. So the second question, Elizabeth will answer first, but you'll both have a chance to answer it. So here is the second question. How will AI change the legal industry, and what should firms be doing now to prepare?
So AI has already been impacting the legal industry tremendously. Attorneys are able to draft documents and perform research a lot quicker than previously. And I think people in the legal industry should continue staying afloat what the changes in AI are in order to keep up with all the advances. I think in the future, it could even be malpractice if an attorney doesn't check their work with AI, or if a document takes 5 hours for a human to draft, but it could take 2 hours with AI. So not to use AI to save the client money, that could be malpractice in the future.
Sabrina, same question. How is AI changing the legal world, and what should firms be doing now to be ready for this?
Yeah, I totally agree with Elizabeth just mentioned. AI has changed a lot how we do things. And I do think AI replaced some entry-level jobs. For example, as an immigration attorney, we have to translate documents. We used to work with translation companies, translators. We no longer use them. We do them with ChatGPT, and we have our bilingual staff proofread it. So there are jobs, like maybe supporting staff, entry-level jobs, really need to think about what they're going to do. And for us, I think the AI doesn't replace lawyers. It doesn't replace empathy. It doesn't replace judgment. AI can assist, but it cannot make the ultimate decision for the clients and for us.
Okay, terrific. Thank you both for that. So our third question, and Sabrina will answer this one first, is what do you know now that you wish you had known when you first started your law practice?
That's very interesting. I was listening to Elizabeth's interview. I think I made the opposite mistake like she did. I was not spending enough. I was trying to really think about, maybe I'm not going to make that enough money in the next month. I cannot afford an associate attorney. I'm going to do it by myself. And until I really hired the next person, I realized by adding this competent supporting attorneys or supporting staff, you're only adding to what you can do. And you're always going to make more money. You're going to get more clients, being able to do more to drive the profit. So I think there is a balance on how to spend and how to budget for the practice.
And if you don't invest, it won't grow.
No.
Elizabeth, same question. What have you learned through the years that you wish you had known when you first started your practice?
So there is a book called Traction, and it describes the EOS model, the Entrepreneurship Operating System. I wish I had read that book sooner and implemented EOS in my company sooner, because it would have helped me delegate and put different leaders in different departments instead of doing everything myself. I remember during one time, I was probably taking like almost 100 calls a day because I was handling all the intake calls myself. And now I have an intake department and I barely have to take any calls every day. So if I had done that sooner, it could have saved me a lot of stress.
So these have really turned out to be keys to success. And if you had known it sooner, you could have accelerated your growth.
Yes, and maybe also have my husband quit his job sooner to join my practice too.
That's great. So it's now time for the final word. This is where each of you will share one final pearl of wisdom or piece of advice for our viewers. And Elizabeth, you'll get to go first. So what is your final word for our viewers?
I say, life is short, and if anyone has an opportunity to try something new, like start a business, definitely try it out. Because even if you try it and you realize entrepreneurship is not your thing, I don't think it's a waste of time, because you still learn something about yourself. So don't be scared to try opening up your own business. It's very challenging, but you might end up loving it. And if you don't, then you learn that it's not your thing.
Yeah, I guess you could always then go to a firm.
Yeah.
Sabrina? It's time for your final word.
Yes. So for me, just adding to Elizabeth's point, yes, you should definitely try, but a lot of people are thinking, when am I going to be ready? You are never going to feel ready. I've never felt ready. There's no such a perfect moment to start. Start small, in this day of time. You don't need to invest a lot. You can start by having a virtual office, working from home. You don't need to spend that much, but yeah, just take the baby steps, but take the first step.
And there you have it, our final word. I want to thank you, Elizabeth and Sabrina, for joining us on today's show. You've been a great resource to our viewers.
Thank you so much for having both of us today.
It's great to be here.
If you have a question or need advice, connect with us by email, leadership@fullerton.edu, or on Instagram @CSUFCFL. Thank you for tuning in to today's show, where we talked about entrepreneurship in the legal industry. Thanks to our guests, Sabrina Lee and Elizabeth Yang, and a shout out to Professor Richard Parry for delivering today's leadership lesson. Join us each episode of The Leadership Voice, where your questions are answered across industries, one show at a time. I'm Jay Barbuto, founder and director of the Giles O'Malley Center for Leadership at Cal State Fullerton, and we'll see you next time right here on The Leadership Voice.